offering myself at Bhagwan's lotus feet for giving us this beautiful ecosystem of having this educare and healthcare, having a wonderful symbiotic relation at Puttaparthi or at Bangalore, where we have these two hospitals and university labs working hand in hand and developing so many things that itself is a unique privilege to us. I also thank all the doctors, clinicians, the people who built this ecosystem before I venture into this talk. I like to make it more lively for the students, and so that's a pace I'm going to set in. So most of you are familiar with all the things that I've put on this slide. We have Pediasure, we have Boost, we are but not sure whether our immunity will boost. And many times our food market comes into limelight. Especially I could also involve or take reference to Vandana madam, who is building a mass spec when the Maggi noodles, which is one of our favorite food for our researchers or in the kids, had lot of amount of lead. In all these scenarios, what comes into rescue is the analytical power of the technologies that we built. Whether it could be a drop of blood of microliters or parts per billion of lead present anywhere in unwanted cases, that could be all the demerit that I could tell somebody would take advantage of making more profit. But when we start looking at all these things, which we are at a crossroad where whether we wanted to have a healthy life or come out of an illness, so many times what comes to our rescue is the technology. Either way to take it. So today I will be dealing with something called bone necrosis, which was a wonderful work. A lot of people worked, and how to probe this bone necrosis is what the work that our department took, and it was part of one of the PhD students from bioscience. It was an interdisciplinary project, but the clinical relevance made it not only for the sample but also for the remediation that we need to intervene for the patient care came from SSIHM, our hospitals. So in the afternoon talk by Professor Oken, you heard a lot of things that we were doing outside our body. We could have the whole organ, any part of the organ nowadays getting built synthetically and substituted. Most of the time this necessity comes when we are facing a traumatic situation. But the human body is a very wonderful and a complex machine. It has this magic to something called regenerate and heal. So one such thing that happens many times to us when we are kids, or many times we tend to have an opportunity to see is the self-healing power of this bone. So a lot of these bone or biomaterial was discussed in the afternoon. So I would like to take you something like this, a very easy way to understand. As some very good question from the audience came, can this material grow as we grow? The material that you substitute in the bone. Can it also resorb? A lot of questions were there. So we can connect it to something like the road that we lay. This process of bone, how it grows, is like making a new road. Correct? We all are familiar with the tar and the metal that they mix and make this. Exactly the same thing happens in the bone surface. We have agents. We have the civil construction and person. And at times we need to wonder whenever we have this trauma or when we became age, or there could be sometimes something called as idiopathic fractures. We don't have any reasons for having a fracture at all. It happens. And many times we also go on to relay the road. So this is the magical part where you may not like to do an implant or substitute, but you want your body to heal by itself. So this sets the tone for the biologist, an exciting area. So how can I enhance this self-healing power? Otherwise we land up in degeneration, which many often we see in our aged people. Or when we also see in our first slide, when we are talking about the, can I get a bone density test free? So this is where our scientific pursuit venture, it's not. So we wanted to understand what is a bone and how these fractures are happening. So the morning or the afternoon talks were so much elaborate on the material that we are substituting as a bone. So I like to take you to an ultra structure of a bone. There were some questions on whether nanomaterials could be used there. So first we need to understand what is the bone at a macro level, a micro level, and at a nano level. So if you see a bone, you can all see this. It looks like a trabecular meshwork that you see very often. It's more like in the Tom and Jerry cartoon that you see a cheese piece. It's a lot of things. Structures are there, a meshwork. As you see the building block of the bone, as you go further, take a clockwise thing, you land up something called as an hydroxyapatite nanocrystal. And then you have the collagen. These two things actually makes the bone and gives all the mechanical strength that you derive from a 36 kg bone. That professor explained that it was taking such amount of stress and strain. How does it happen? So the magic happens at this micro and nano domain, where in which you have the collagen, which is the tissue, soft tissue, and the mineral, which is going to give you the hard tissue. So coming to the bone as such, can I have next slide? So if you go on looking at it, this is a hierarchical structure where in which you have this slowly when you come towards this, you have the proteins, you have the collagen, the marriage between the mineral, that is hydroxyapatite, and the collagen. So this is more like a sleeping mat, very closely knitted, that gives you the strength instead of a single thread when they are knitted together. So this is the magic that happens in our every bone cell. So now the question, what is the scientific question we were addressing? We were looking at a particular fracture called femoral head, that is nothing but your hip joint. So if you wanted to go back and analyze this complex structure, you need many things to prove. Why are we having some vitamins added to our Boost or Pediasure, or even in your cooking oil? Why are they adding vitamin D or E or B or a B complex? Where is the need coming from? So many times when our body grows naturally, or if you are deficient of these vitamins, you lack some of these amino acids to produce these minerals, to make this mineral or make this structure. So whenever we are going to have a lack of this structure, slowly what happens, the relaying of the road doesn't happen. So as you grow, or whenever you are going to a stress, you need a self-healing process to happen. So this is where the bottleneck is. So this is the domain of biologists, which I will not step in. And this is where they talk about the metabolism or the failure of a metabolism. So I leave it to my colleague who will do that. And to such a complex problem of looking at the bone tissue as such a hard tissue, we wanted to finally understand that this is the cause, a deficiency of B complex. Our goal was to find out how this is happening. So we wanted to see the cause, we want to see the effect. But how to measure a vitamin B complex? So those set of experiments were done by our biochemical data, which could be from your body fluids, urine, blood samples, which went through mass specs, what Vandana madam was referring earlier. Then on the other side, we have physically seeing is nothing but believing, correct? We need to really see at the site where there was a diseased bone and look at it, what happens at that. Those things came from the immuno and histopathology. And then we had the radiology people explaining to us without destruction and how do I look at the bone, we had the micro-CT coming in, tomography. But all said, then we need the bone samples. We cannot butcher a person to take a sample, correct? We need this bone sample. We want healthy things. How do we take this? So this is where our hospitals had given us those bone samples from the traumatic patients because they might have got a fracture from an accident. So those people, patients, in a way, whenever we work with biology, we should be very thankful to the society, because though you are going to serve the society, we are going to take all the help from them, from their simple sample, consent to everything. It's a very, very ethically, one has to tread very carefully to do that. And this is our Ashwath Narayan brother who is working on such sample and collecting a micro CT. And what we did was this electron microscopy and micro Raman studies here. So I will now move on to show you how this bone looks. So you saw the ultrastructure there when I showed you. This is a cross-sectional view of a bone of your femoral head, your hip joint basically. So it's a cross-section. So one thing I should thank our doctors of the hospital, because if they get a trauma patient anytime, because most of the time you'll end up in odd hours of the day, they could give us a call, we go collect the sample. We have to take the consent after the operation. We take this, keep it in our refrigeration, deep cold refrigeration, thaw it and immediately do. Because if you delay by any hour, all that biochemical information that you are going to probe is going to be thrown directly into the ditch. You won't get any useful information. So we wanted the sample as close as to the reality and see the biochemical things. So where does Raman come in? So Abhishek had shared about the Raman process as such. What I wanted to tell you is these are the two spectrometers that we have in our campus. So one of that is a dispersive, both are dispersive Raman spectrometer, but one is a spectrometer, but another one is a micro spectrometer. And I will also like to highlight that these facilities by several by blessings of Swami and several agencies which funded us, including our central trust, we could get all these. When we started the research on this bone, we had only this setup. It was very difficult for us to do because you wanted to go at a micro scale and look at what is the biochemical fingerprint or the molecular fingerprint. You can never do this. You have to couple it to a microscope. This was almost a $500 crore facility that we got from DST FIST funding. So more or less, what I wanted to tell you is these are the two experimental setups that we used. Now it's a very interesting thing. So why does a bone get a fracture? Either it could be an accident, but many times when we see our aged parents or aged siblings, we know that many times they undergo a failure, hip failure or a spinal failure. They have been working, just that stress and strain in their job, or it could be just their age that changes the ultrastructure of the bone. So what we were trying to look at is, where does Raman help in? So what I am projecting here on the left panel is the Raman spectrum of a control, what I could call it as an healthy bone. So morning when, afternoon when the professor was talking, he was talking about an hydroxyapatite mineral. So the mineral hydroxyapatite is nothing but calcium phosphate. So calcium phosphate is a strong component of your bone matrix or the bone as such. So the bone is built up of mineral and matrix. The matrix is nothing but your collagen, which is our soft tissue like our skin, and the mineral. So the mineral. So if at all any damage that could happen for various reasons, then what we should be getting is a variation in these peaks. As a physicist or a spectroscopist, area under the curve could give you the intensity and which you can strongly correlate it to the concentration of the material that is present. That's all. And what I would like to tell you is, many times, most often, the solution or the metabolomic query that we had is, why does the bone failure happen, was related to amino acids which were not getting produced in your body. So that's where you take the vitamin B complex, which is a simple solution to the complex problem, wherein which a B complex could fill in all the metabolism and prevent a bone from becoming brittle. So what is it brittle? How do I know the sample that I am analyzing is going to be brittle? What I have is nothing but the phosphate peak will go down basically the bone is not able to restructure itself or relay itself. So what happens, the phosphate content or the construction problem, we are not having the raw material for constructing the bone. What gets substituted is carbonate peak. So what do you have? Carbonate is nothing but what is popularly a calcium carbonate is nothing but your chalk. So your bone becomes a chalk piece. And all of us know how brittle it is. There ends the story. So we just had the advantage, rightly as somebody put it, to try this, what really is a necrotic bone different from a control bone. So we could run with it. As Satyadeep asked somebody the 785 nanometer, we could see all the fluorescent signal coming, getting the electronic transition with the Raman signal here. So that time we really did not have the Raman spectrometer with us. Swami's grace and devotees from Raman Research Institute shared their facility to venture into such a useful problem for us. So this is what. So we really put the bone under the microscope, the Raman microscope there. So now you can see a healthy bone, but it has a necrotic part here. The necrosis is nothing but, many of you have seen in the bone ultrastructure, there could be veins running into the bone, because bones are the bone marrow is the birthplace of all the blood cells that you have in your body. So if the bones are not going to get supplied, the necrosis started. This is like not watering your plant. Exactly, when there is no blood and the required vitamin B complex in your bed, then the necrosis starts here. So what we smartly started doing was doing a line profile on the bone sample. But by Swami's luck, we could also have our micro Raman installed in our facility. Then we could do a mapping itself. So we went on to, instead of a line scanning, we went on to do a mapping, chemical mapping. So what I could show you was, if at all the phosphate has disappeared from your bone, then I should get more carbonate peak. So it became a simple relation for us to pick up. We can directly view where the phosphate was located, phosphate bands were located. So what you're seeing is the heat map of phosphate in avian and necrotic area bone. Avian is nothing but the avascular necrosis, which is the scientific name for the necrosis that is happening in terms of biology. So we could get all the radiation, all the maps, heat maps on this. So this was the window of helping Raman spectroscopy do that. So I would like to highlight very visually, very easy for you to perceive is that the heat maps given here. Wherever red is there, you could see a very high index of this mineral matrix ratio to be present. So that mineral matrix ratio is how much of percentage of phosphate to my collagen ratio. So if I have a large phosphate, already I know I am a healthy patient here. Okay, I am not doing on live samples, meaning on the live patient here, I have borrowed those control samples who do not have avascular necrosis. And on the contrast, you see the blue color, you see all these patients are having very less. Patient samples basically. In a very 2D image processing way, you can come to this. And we could also go on to tell that if at all collagen itself is not being produced, the next problem is mineral is deficient. You could give for a very substitute with calcium or phosphate that you take in your Horlicks or in your, most of the time in the women health drinks, we have this phosphate or the calcium substituted there. But how do I know that my collagen is not working? Then I have to look at the other ratios too. So there are some more peaks which I have not showed here probably. This is the carbonate phosphate ratio also here. So I will end my talk highlighting one thing, that whenever you take real life problem, it is never one department. It's always inter-department. It is inter-institutional. It is sometimes across the continents, and all that we have with us is a selfless passion and a help and a love for serving the society. I could end with two of my mentors who had actually helped us doing Raman spectroscopy and who never cared to put their name in this wonderful work, Professor Rao and Professor Arun Srikumar from Baylor College of Medicine. They put the whole team across all many continents here, which I think by Swami's grace had a Nature Scientific Reports publication. I thank everyone for this opportunity.